If It Doesn't Feed You, Don't Water It, the podcast is a wellness podcast for women of color. I wanted to create a wellness podcast for women of color because, as an esthetician and as someone who is prominent in the beauty and wellness space, I have always felt, but increasingly so in the last few years, that we're just not honest about the things that prevent us from being well, the things that are burdens to our wellness journey and feeling whole and healed and happy and whatever it is. If It Doesn't Feed You, Don't Water It started out as a reminder to myself and to whoever was watching me at the time on my YouTube to actively move away from the things that don't benefit us. And I think that sometimes we have to actively acknowledge that something isn't benefiting us, because it is so easy to just be in like a default going through the motions, and we're not realizing, because maybe it's what other people do, it's what the people around us do, it's what our parents expect of us, it's what our siblings expect of us, it's what maybe we've always done in this culture, or maybe it's what you see around you in media. And all of those things contribute subconsciously to us because we're humans and we're not always conscious of all of our daily activities, right? Science always says that the brain is lazy and looks for patterns and looks to keep us safe. So I feel like I had to actively remember that certain things or activities at the time when I came up with it, or maybe 25 or 26, weren't serving me anymore. Also at the time, 25, 26, I was making a lot of adjustments in my life. I was adjusting from living at home and being just I don't want to say like a party girl, but really my focus at that point in life was like just to have fun and explore and do fun things, to actually thinking about my future and actively thinking about my future and doing activities and making choices and decisions that would lead to a future and outcome that I could be proud of. And a lot of that required changing the TV that I watched, changing the media that I watched, changing my daily activities from always looking for the next party in the next city to saving up, all of my tip dollars so I could move across the country to LA. I also noticed that in my own personal change and growth and development, that other people were putting a lot of their time and energy and effort into things that they hated. And I still see people do that today. People will comment on posts that they hate, ignoring or not putting enough energy into Instagram posts that they like. Forget Instagram as a whole for a second, right? Even just the things that we think about daily, right? Going into work, you think about how much traffic there is. You think about how expensive gas is. You think about how expensive coffee is, instead of like, wow, today's a beautiful day, or wow, that's a really cool flower or a really cool colored car. You go into work and people are complaining about a million different things: their husband, their kids, their dog, the weather, all these stuff, right? And again, we as humans, we need to have active, constant reminders to set down the things that are weighing our brain, that don't make us happier, that don't make us better, that don't make us think, that don't serve us in any way. I feel like there's always so much noise about what we should and shouldn't be doing. In the wellness community, I see, people selling products and supplements and yoga classes and meditations and breath work, but I want to talk about like our interpersonal relationships. I want to talk about health. I want to talk about our mindsets and maybe contradictions within us, within me, contradictions that I've seen, conflicts that I've seen between friends or between family, between our younger selves and our older selves. I think all these other things are things that maybe that we're too afraid to talk about or don't know how to talk about. Truthfully, I don't necessarily know how to talk about them either, but I've been thinking and just meditating a lot on the way that our stories connect us and the way that our stories heal us. James Baldwin said, "You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read. It was books that taught me the things that tormented me the most were the very things that connected me with all the people who were alive, who had ever been alive." To me, that's such a profound quote because while this isn't a book, it's a podcast. But my comfort is just in talking and speaking, and I feel like I've had a very rough last, I don't know, 2 years for sure, but honestly, even 4. And in those times where I felt extremely lonely, especially as like an entrepreneur or as an influencer or as someone who just has a very public facing job, the times where I was able to feel healed and whole was when I was in community with people, when I was with my friends, when I was with my family. Those are the moments where I was able to heal and listen and understand that I am not alone in any of my pain or any of my trials and tribulations in life, and neither is anyone else, right? I listen and I learn from the experiences of people from Asia, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia. And they often talk about how, their parents came here for a better life. It's the same story, right? Like so many immigrant populations have same and similar stories, and I really identify with their stories as well, and I believe that they would be able to identify with my stories. So I didn't want to specifically make this just for Black women because, again, there's a lot of experiences that me as a first generation American don't necessarily understand or can't relate to, or that there's expectations of me because I just appear Black American, and I can't meet those expectations, right? Because that's not my life history. That's not my family history. That's not my lineage. That's not my past. So I'm hoping, because I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm hoping that through this podcast, I'm able to share with you, the listener, how to connect to those who seem different from us. Because truly one of my favorite things in this world is the way that we're different, but also the way that our perceived differences actually don't matter that much, and how much we are actually truly very much the same, which with the same goals and desires and fears and aspirations, and how so many of our struggles are interconnected. Thank you for listening to If It Doesn't Feed You, Don't Water It, a wellness podcast for women of color. If anything I said today resonated with you, please remember to share and like and subscribe and rate and review and comment. Everything means so much, especially for a new growing podcast. I want to be able to continue to have these very important conversations and have them reach the people that need to hear them. Bye. Have a beautiful day.